water.
Scottie B going to work in the paint.
Eastern Conference Final. New NBA champion. And it's a team from Toronto, Canada. We, the North, are now we, the champions.
What is going on, Raptors Nation? Luca here, and welcome back into the Raptors Nation podcast, the pod that I bring you guys every Thursday. If you can do me a solid, like this video if you are watching this podcast on YouTube, and of course, leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, you name it. The Raptors Nation podcast, again, drops every Thursday. Raptors basketball is almost back. I'm super excited. Sunday, I know it's just the preseason, but we're actually going to see the Raptors in action this Sunday. They're going to be in Vancouver to play in their first preseason game. Before we get into that, I do want to talk about Raptors training camp. Now, before Raptors training camp, Raptors, of course, held their media day to begin the week, and I did do a separate video on that. So if you want to check out my thoughts on media day and my main takeaways, because it was certainly an interesting day, especially with Pascal Siakam and Masai Ujiri, you can go ahead and take a look at that video. And I also wrote a piece on it over at raptorsnation.com. But let's talk about training camp. So after media day concluded, the Raptors flew out to British Columbia to begin training camp. The team's going to be staying there and practicing, leading into their first preseason game, which will be played in Vancouver against the Sacramento Kings, like I said, this Sunday. So I just wanted to get into training camp and just a few of my takeaways from some of the stuff that I've seen online. Obviously, I'm not there live to cover training camp, but of course, there's been some great coverage when it comes to Raptors training camp and what's going on with the players right now. And the first player I want to talk about is Dennis Schroeder. So Dennis Schroeder, I think his flight was delayed on the Monday. He was unable to make his presser for media day. So unfortunately, we weren't able to hear what Schroeder had to say to the press. But he did arrive in the later portion of the day. And then he was actually seen in what could be the Raptors' New Jersey. He posted on his Instagram story, but then quickly deleted it because I'm sure he wasn't supposed to post it. But nonetheless, Dennis Schroeder, he's at training camp. He's working hard. He's playing hard. And the one thing that caught my attention with Schroeder is not only does he have a great relationship with Darko Rajakovic, because remember, Schroeder actually played under Darko when Darko was an assistant for OKC during 2018 to 2020. And that was a big reason why he joined the Raptors, was just the fact that Darko was going to be the head coach for the Toronto Raptors. But I really like what Schroeder said here. So he was asked about his role with the Raptors. And obviously the biggest question mark right now when it comes to on-court with this team is what their starting lineup is going to look like. Is Schroeder going to start? Is Schroeder going to come from off the bench as the team's sixth man? Well, this is what Schroeder said. He made it clear that it doesn't matter how the Raptors plan on using him. He just cares about one thing, and that's winning. And I quote, he said this: "For me, as long as we win, don't really matter. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here. All this coming off the bench, starting and all that. I ain't got no time or energy to spend on it," close quote. So I love this answer from Schroeder. He's got his priorities straight. He's not spending his time and energy questioning what his role is going to be, because no matter how the Raptors plan on using him, I think Schroeder is going to be in line for a big year for the Raptors, because Darko even said that he has plans for Schroeder this season, saying we're going to have very creative ways of using him. So I think Schroeder, this just speaks to his professionalism, his veteran presence. He's a guy that, he's been around the league. He doesn't have time to play games. He doesn't have time to question things. He's going to go out there and give you his all. And that's what I love about Schroeder, because we saw it during the FIBA World Cup. Schroeder, he's not going to make excuses. Even if he has a bad game, he's going to bounce back. And just having him in that locker room, that veteran presence that he's going to bring, the leadership qualities that he's going to bring, is going to be a breath of fresh air for the young players on this team. Scottie Barnes actually spoke about it at Media Day, saying how the vets on this team, much different than a season ago. So having a guy like Schroeder, who's going to get the most out of the younger players, who's going to really look to find his game, I have no doubts that Schroeder's going to seamlessly fit with the Raptors. And we'll find out soon what the Raptors' ultimate plan is. I think either way, Schroeder's going to impact the Raptors in a very good way. So Schroeder's not stressing over it. I don't think we should stress over it. Whatever Raptors decide from here on out, we'll see what they do and how it will ultimately impact the team. One more quote I want to add here from Schroeder at training camp. He said, "It was a great summer, but it's a new season. I just try to take that confidence and that play, what I did in Japan and the Philippines, and translate it into the NBA season." So hopefully for Raptors fans' sake, Schroeder can translate the excellent summer he had into a very big year for the Raptors. All right, another quick takeaway here from training camp. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet. Josh Lewinberg of TSN put out a video, and he said, "I just watched Scottie drain 14 straight threes from the corner." It was good seeing Scottie Barnes hit that three ball, because obviously the expectation for Scottie is going to be, can he get better from the field? Can he get better from three? Can he increase that scoring average? And can he really be aggressive? And we're going to get to Scottie Barnes a little bit later on. Just seeing Scottie out there hitting threes, he looks bigger. He's reportedly now 6'11" with shoes on. He's 240 pounds. He revealed the 6'11" with shoes on part during a Twitch stream, and then he revealed that he's now 240 after he gained 9 pounds of muscle. He said that during media day. So Barnes, he's got the stature. He's been saying all the right things. It looks like he's been putting in the work. He talked about working on his conditioning, because with him handling the ball more, it's going to take a lot more out of him. So Barnes, it looks like, has really prepared himself for this season, and I'm really looking forward to what Scottie can bring. Another takeaway from training camp is what Josh said about Otto Porter Jr. He said after missing most of last season with a toe injury, Otto Porter was a full participant in the Raptors' first training camp practice today. Darko Rajakovic said his rehab from surgery went well over the summer, and they're hoping to have him available to start the season. So that's big news too. I'm really looking forward to Otto Porter Jr. I do think he can bring a lot to this Raptors team as a veteran 3-and-D guy, a guy who can space the floor, hit shots, play defense. He was so crucial as a role player during the Warriors championship run a couple years ago. So hopefully Otto Porter Jr. can stay healthy and he can implement himself as a good role player for this team. And then another thing I just want to touch on here, because there has been a lot of speculation about how Pascal Siakam is feeling. Is he happy? Is he not? Obviously, there was a little bit of a rift there at media day when Masai Ujiri seemingly called him out when he talked about the team's selfish play. And then Siakam quickly denied that he was a selfish player when he spoke to the press. So there's been this ongoing narrative, it seems, about what's going to happen with Siakam. Is he happy? Are the Raptors going to offer him something? Does he want to stay here? Does he want to extend his contract? How is this whole thing going to get resolved? Well, we don't know how the contract situation is going to go, and that's one of the biggest questions going into the season. I talked more about that in a video I posted yesterday on the channel. But a takeaway here is, and this is from a man of Yahoo Sports, he basically posted a video of Siakam, and it shows that Siakam is enjoying himself. He is smiling. He doesn't look depressed, as some of the rumors out there suggested. And he said this: "I wish I could put bigger emphasis on showing Pascal Siakam smiling on training camp, but he was a lot. He was joking around and happy during three-point drills and was laughing with teammates after practice. He literally said how blessed he feels at media day, and everyone thinks he's sad." So that is reassuring to see. Obviously, no matter what happens from here on out with the whole Pascal Siakam contract situation, you want Pascal Siakam to be in a good mood and be ready for the season, because he's obviously going to be a big part of how far this Raptors team goes, and they need Siakam to play his best if they want any chance of competing in the Eastern Conference. So it does appear that Pascal Siakam is in good spirits after a little bit of a questionable media day and how that media day ended for this team. So that is basically just a couple of takeaways from training camp. I'm sure some more stuff's going to come out online as the days progress and the Raptors inch closer to their first preseason game on Sunday. But speaking of the preseason, let's talk about it now. So the Raptors are only going to have 3 preseason games. So it's going to be a very quick preseason just to get everybody in check and ready for the regular season. So the Raptors are going to stay in British Columbia, and then they're going to play their first preseason game this Sunday against the Kings. And then they're going to be taking on the Bulls on October 17th. And then they're going to finish up their preseason slate with a game against the Wizards at home on October 20th. So I guess what I'm expecting from the preseason, number one, I'll say this: I'm not going to overreact to things. I'm not going to put too much stock into the preseason, because obviously this is a way for guys to get well acquainted with one another, especially since there's going to be some new faces on this team and just for some of the older guys to shake off the cobwebs and get ready for the grind. So I would just say my expectations for this preseason, some things that I want to see, guys getting back into rhythm, seeing Scottie Barnes's new body out there, how he's going to adjust, how Darko is going to utilize his players during the preseason, what the lineups are going to look like, the rotations, what the starting lineup's going to look like, Darko's new offense, how this team's going to look on defense. And then I'm excited to see the new guys show what they can do early on in the preseason. Guys like Dennis Schroeder, who's going to be rocking a Raptors jersey for the first time out there on the court. Grady Dick, a lot of expectations are going to be on the rookie's first campaign. McDaniels. So unfortunately, Koloko will not be there. He is going to be out indefinitely with a respiratory problem. So I just want to see the new guys get acquainted with some of the familiar faces and just this team looking good in their first couple of games of the season, which is going to give us a little indication of what to expect when the season actually starts. So again, I'm not going to put too much stock into it, not going to overreact if a guy has a bad shooting performance, but I am going to look at how the Raptors look on offense in particular and see how Darko utilizes some of the rotations early on. So it'll be a quick preseason, 3 preseason games, and then the Raptors will begin their regular season on October 25th against the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I want to end today's show by talking about Scottie Barnes. So I do think this is going to be a make or break season for Scottie Barnes, because when you look at certain players and when they've become stars, that third year for them was very pivotal. The third year is a big year in terms of separating the players who are going to end up being role players or the guys who are going to indeed become a star, superstar in this league. We've seen some pretty significant third-year leaps from now stars in the NBA. And Scottie Barnes, like I said earlier, he said all the right things. He's gotten his body in shape. He feels good. He's 240 for the first time in his life. He's healthy. He says that he's confident. He believes in his game. And this is what Josh Lewenberg said about Barnes feeling good, just adding on to some of the things I've been saying. And I quote, this is coming from Barnes directly. My body feels great. I feel stronger. I feel good on my feet. My handle feels great right now. I feel like I'm well conditioned. I can take on that new role. That's what it's about. I feel like it's a mental thing. I've put on more muscle. I feel a lot healthier, close quote. So all great things you want to hear from Scottie Barnes, because the Raptors are going to go as far as I think Scottie Barnes' development is going to take them. Because if Scottie Barnes does have a significant year 3 leap and guys like Siakam, OG do their thing, play their game, and these role players come in and the bench gets a little bit better, the Raptors are going to exceed expectations. I don't want to put it on one guy, but Scottie Barnes is going to dictate a lot, because if he comes along strongly and all of the off-season hype hits and Scottie Barnes does take that leap, the Raptors are going to surprise a lot of people and turn a lot of heads. But if Barnes doesn't come along with his development, then that could end up being a huge problematic thing for this team, because not only is that going to be disappointing for Scottie Barnes' personal career, but I think in essence, that's going to set the Raptors back a bit, because Raptors management, they are super high on Barnes, right? They were reluctant to trade Barnes in a deal potentially for Kevin Durant, then in a deal for Damian Lillard, talking about 2 superstar players that potentially put you over the top. So they believe that Scottie Barnes can be their guy. They believe that Scottie Barnes can be their face of the franchise. They have not given up on him, as they shouldn't this early into his career. And they want to see what Barnes can bring to the table. And you look at Barnes, what are some realistic expectations for Scottie Barnes? Now, I've been seeing All-Star being thrown out there. Am I going to hold Scottie Barnes to an All-Star standard? No. But do I expect Scottie Barnes to potentially be a borderline All-Star? Yeah, I do. I do think Scottie Barnes is going to get ample opportunities to reveal everything he has in his game on both sides of the ball. There's going to be a lot more focus, you would think, with Scottie playing under Darko. And Scottie seems excited to play under Darko. So whatever Scottie Barnes had unlocked in the first 2 seasons under Nurse, it's expected that we're going to see that in this season. And when you look at Barnes, he's an effective passer. He's a playmaker. He's going to get many more opportunities to have the ball in his hands. But can Barnes improve in other areas of his game? Can he improve his scoring average? Can he potentially get over that 20 points per game? Can he increase his shooting percentage, especially from three? We saw him hit, what was it, 14 threes in a row. Well, Scottie Barnes only shot at 29% from three a year ago. Can he bump up that 3-point shooting percentage to closer to 35%? So can Scottie Barnes put forth a full body of work and show a lot of promise that will show us that he's indeed the guy that this franchise is going to lean on? So we will see what year 3 has in store for Scottie Barnes. But guys, what are your expectations for Scottie Barnes? How do you see him performing this season? What are your expectations for the Toronto Raptors? And what are your takeaways from training camp? And what are you most looking forward to seeing during the preseason? It will be a short preseason. And I know, again, preseason is one of those things you just want to go by quickly, so then the real thing starts. But let me know your thoughts down below, guys. Hit a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel for more. Again, you can leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Anything to help the show is greatly appreciated. That is it for me. This is Luca signing off. As always, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, stay safe.